First contact and culture shock. Admiral Zorax Vrel stood at the observation deck, his forearms clasped behind his back as he stared into the void of space. His pale blue skin rippled with tension as the small transport ship approached the massive Galactic Academy station. The luminescent patterns across his scalp pulsed rapidly, a sign of anxiety among the Taurians that he couldn't fully suppress. "They've arrived, Admiral," announced his aide, Lieutenant Phila, her delicate insectoid mandibles clicking softly. "So they have," Zorax replied, his voice deliberately measured. "The first human contingent to join our academy. 20 cadets from a gravity well that would crush most sentient beings." The Academy Station, officially designated as Training Station Helios, rotated slowly against the backdrop of stars, its ring-shaped structure housing over 10,000 cadets from 47 different species across the Galactic Confederation. For 3 centuries, it had served as the premier training facility for the Confederation's military and peacekeeping forces, and today, for the first time, it would welcome humans. "Have the special accommodations been prepared?" Zorax asked, though he already knew the answer. He'd personally overseen every detail. "Yes, Admiral. Section 12G has been modified to Earth standards. Increased gravity plating at 9.8 meters per second squared. Atmosphere adjusted to their nitrogen-oxygen requirements. Temperature lowered to their preferred range." And the instructors, briefed on human physiology and cultural norms, though many remain skeptical. Zorax turned away from the viewport. "Skeptical is an understatement, Lieutenant. Half the staff believes inviting Deathworlders into our program is suicide. The other half thinks the humans will break within a week." "And you, Admiral?" Zorax's bioluminescent patterns shifted to a contemplative blue. "I believe in empirical evidence, Lieutenant. We shall see what these Earth creatures are truly capable of." The human transport docked with precision that surprised even Zorax. Despite being relatively new to interstellar travel, these humans handled their vessels with remarkable skill. He made his way to the reception area where a delegation of senior staff had assembled to greet the newcomers. The airlock cycled, hissed, and finally slid open. The first human to step through stood slightly taller than the average Taurian, with dark skin and close-cropped hair. Most striking were the eyes, forward-facing predator eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. "Captain Maya Chen, Earth Defense Force," she announced, stepping forward with a confident stride that betrayed no discomfort in the station's lighter gravity. "Permission to bring my cadets aboard, Admiral." Zorax performed the traditional Taurian greeting gesture, spreading his upper arms wide. "Permission granted, Captain Chen. Welcome to Helios Station." One by one, the human cadets filed through the airlock. They varied widely in coloration, size, and physical features, yet shared a certain intensity in their gaze and movement that set Zorax's instincts on edge. Despite their relatively unimpressive physical appearance compared to some species like the massive Crovan or the nimble Ceratic, something about the humans suggested contained power. Professor Lixel, the Academy's chief xenobiologist, couldn't contain his scientific curiosity. His translucent tentacles quivered as he approached one of the human cadets. "Fascinating," he burbled through his translator. "You evolved on a planet with nearly twice the gravity of most homeworlds, with atmospheric oxygen levels that would intoxicate most species, and temperature ranges that swing wildly between freezing and boiling. How do you survive?" The human, a tall, pale-skinned male with reddish facial hair, looked momentarily puzzled before breaking into what Zorax recognized as a smile. "We call it home, Professor. You get used to it." "Indeed," Lixel continued, "and your species lacks almost all natural defensive mechanisms. No claws, no significant teeth, minimal speed." "We compensate in other ways," Captain Chen interjected smoothly. "Speaking of which, my cadets are eager to begin training. When might they start the physical assessment?" Combat Instructor Kravnak, a hulking Crovan with armored gray skin and eyes set wide on his broad skull, gave a sound that might have been a snort. Eager to begin, or eager to request transfer back to your soft Earth academies. Several of the human cadets exchanged glances that Zorax couldn't interpret, but Captain Chen's expression remained neutral. I assure you, instructor, my cadets are prepared for whatever challenges you've designed. We shall see, Kravnak grumbled. Assessment begins at 600 station time tomorrow. I suggest your cadets rest well tonight. Thank you for your concern, Chen replied with a slight upturn of her lips. As the humans were escorted to their quarters, Admiral Zorax overheard two academy instructors whispering. They're smaller than I expected, said one. And softer, replied the other. I give them 3 days before the first one breaks. The following morning, Zorax arrived at the assessment arena early. The vast circular space could be configured for various training scenarios, and today featured a brutal obstacle course designed to test strength, endurance, speed, and tactical thinking. The academy instructors were already there, as were representatives from various species curious to see the human performance. The viewing gallery steadily filled as word spread about the Deathworlders' first test. The human cadets arrived precisely on time, dressed in simple gray training uniforms. Welcome to your initial assessment, Kravnak announced, looming over the assembled humans. This course was designed to challenge cadets from all Confederation species. You will be timed, and your performance metrics recorded. The course must be completed as a team. Any questions? A human female with curly dark hair raised her hand. Sir, has the gravity been adjusted from station standard? No, cadet, Kravnak replied. You will face the same conditions as all cadets minus 0.7 Earth gravity. I understand this should make it easier for you. Thank you, sir, she replied. Request permission to adjust gravity plating to Earth standard, 1G. A murmur rippled through the observation gallery. Kravnak's broad face registered surprise before narrowing into skepticism. You wish to make the course more difficult for yourselves. We train as we fight, sir, explained a tall male cadet. If we train in reduced gravity, our muscle mass and bone density will degrade. We prefer to maintain Earth standard conditioning. After a moment's consideration, Kravnak tapped commands into his wrist computer. Gravity increased to Earth standard in the training arena. Your request has been granted, though I question your judgment. The first sign that the instructors had underestimated the humans came barely 5 minutes into the assessment. The obstacle course began with a 30-meter climbing wall with minimal handholds, a challenge that tested both strength and technique. The humans approached it not as individuals but as a coordinated unit. 2 cadets quickly scaled halfway up, securing positions from which they could assist others. Using what appeared to be practiced maneuvers, they created human chains and leverage points, helping team members ascend with startling efficiency. Unorthodox, remarked tactical instructor Celeris, her feathered crest rising in interest. But effective. The water obstacle, a 50-meter swim through turbulent currents, proved even more revealing. Where most species struggled against the artificial current, the humans adopted a rotation system. Each cadet would swim at maximum effort for a short distance before another would take the lead position, cutting through the resistance and creating a slipstream for those behind. They're using drafting techniques, Zorax observed, like migratory birds or school predators. But it was the endurance section that truly shocked the observers. A 5-kilometer run through varying terrains, normally completed at a careful pace to conserve energy, was approached by the humans with what seemed like reckless abandon. They maintained a steady, punishing pace that had the medical staff checking their monitors with concern. Their cardiovascular systems are operating at 75% capacity, reported Dr. Yilon, his compound eyes wide. Heart rates elevated but stable. Respiratory efficiency far exceeding predictions. They're not even at their limit, Zorax asked, incredulous. Not even close, Admiral. The combat simulation phase revealed yet another surprise. When faced with holographic opponents programmed to exploit the weaknesses of various Confederation species, the humans displayed no consistent vulnerability pattern. Some relied on strength, others on speed. Some demonstrated remarkable agility, while others showed tactical patience. "They're all different," Kravnak said, his voice mixing confusion and grudging respect. "Most species have predictable combat styles based on their evolutionary advantages. These humans, each fights uniquely." By the time the humans completed the final challenge, a complex problem-solving task under time pressure, the observation gallery had fallen silent. The assessment, designed to take most species 4 hours to complete, had been finished in just under 2 hours and 40 minutes. "Impressive," Zorak said as Captain Chen approached the instructor station. "Your cadets have exceeded expectations." "Thank you, Admiral," Chen replied. "Though I should point out that this was merely a warm-up by our standards. Earth military training is considerably more intensive." Kravnak made a sound somewhere between a growl and a laugh. "You claim this was easy for them. I designed this course to push boundaries." "Not easy, instructor," Chen clarified, "but well within their capabilities. Humans evolved to pursue prey across long distances. We're persistent predators by nature, not the strongest or fastest, but arguably the most stubborn." As the human cadets were dismissed to clean up and rest, the Academy staff gathered for an immediate debriefing. The atmosphere was tense with recalibrated expectations. "We need to adjust their training program," Celeris said, bringing up holographic data from the assessment. "These baseline metrics suggest they're operating at advanced cadet levels already." "In some areas," Lixel cautioned. "Their technological aptitude remains untested, and their psychosocial integration with other species will be crucial." The debate continued well into the evening. Meanwhile, in their quarters, the human cadets gathered for their own assessment. "They underestimated us," said Cadet Rodriguez, sprawled comfortably on a couch designed for a species with very different proportions. "Did you see their faces when we requested Earth gravity?" "That was Jenkins' idea," Chen reminded them as she entered the common area. "And a good tactical move. First rule of engagement: control the battlefield narrative." "What's next, Captain?" asked Cadet Okafor, the team's tactical specialist. "They'll adapt their expectations now." Chen's expression was serious as she addressed her team. "They're still thinking of us as an interesting anomaly. Deathworlders who've survived through luck or brutality. They don't yet understand what truly makes humans dangerous." "Which is?" prompted a young cadet. Chen smiled slightly. "They think we're physically impressive, which by their standards we are. But they haven't seen our real advantage yet." "Adaptability," said Cadet Lai. "Innovation under pressure." "Precisely," Chen confirmed. "And they're about to learn that lesson very soon." The following morning, as the human cadets prepared for their first joint training exercise with alien species, an alarm blared throughout Helios Station. Red emergency lights bathed the corridors. "Containment breach in laboratory section," announced the AI system. "Biohazard protocol initiating. All personnel proceed to designated safe zones." The humans exchanged glances. "What's a designated safe zone?" asked the cadet. Captain Chen checked her datapad, frowning. "Unknown. But whatever's happening, this will be our first real test at the Academy." No one could have predicted just how severe that test would be. The crucible and recognition. The biohazard alarm continued to wail as Captain Chen led her cadets through the increasingly chaotic corridors of Helios Station. Emergency bulkheads were beginning to seal throughout the facility, compartmentalizing sections to prevent whatever had breached containment from spreading. Central Command, this is Earth Contingent Leader Chen requesting status update and instructions. She spoke into her communicator. The response came through with bursts of static. "Captain Chen, this is Admiral Zorax. We have a Category 3 containment breach. Experimental xenobiological specimens from the Marius Nebula have escaped laboratory confinement. These organisms consume metallic compounds and release highly toxic spores. Evacuation protocols are in effect. Understood, Admiral. How can we assist? There was a pause before Zorax responded. Report to Safe Zone 4 with your cadets. This is not your emergency to manage, Captain. Chen exchanged a glance with Cadet Okafor, who raised an eyebrow in silent question. Acknowledged, Admiral. Moving to Safe Zone 4. As they navigated through the station, they encountered groups of alien cadets moving with varying degrees of urgency and organization. Some species appeared calm and methodical, while others showed signs of distress. Safe Zone 4 is 3 levels down, reported Cadet Jenkins, studying the station schematic on his datapad. But there's a problem. The main lift systems are shutting down as part of the containment protocol. We'll need to use the emergency ladders. Or we could help, Chen said, stopping abruptly as they passed a corridor where several younger cadets, first-year Viridians by the look of their translucent skin, were huddled in obvious confusion. Cadet Lai, take charge here. Find out what's wrong, and get these cadets moving to safety. Lai approached the Viridians, whose frond-like sensory organs were vibrating with anxiety. We're from Earth contingent, she explained through her translator. What's the problem? The tallest Viridian, whose skin flickered with distress patterns, responded. The emergency route to our designated safe zone passes through Section 12C, which is where the breach occurred. We cannot proceed. Do you have an alternate route? Lai asked. There is one, but it requires traversing an external maintenance tunnel. Our species, we cannot tolerate vacuum exposure even in protective suits. Our cellular structure would collapse. Chen joined the conversation. Show me this tunnel on the station schematic. The maintenance tunnel was a narrow passage running along the outer hull of the station, technically inside but separated from hard vacuum by only a single barrier. It would provide a viable path to the Viridian safe zone, but was clearly unsuitable for their physiology. We'll escort you through our safe zone instead, Chen decided. It's rated for multiple species. But your Admiral ordered, one Viridian began. Our orders are to reach safety and assist where possible, Chen interrupted smoothly. You qualify it as where possible. Follow us. As they redirected toward Safe Zone 4 with the Viridian cadets in tow, the station shuddered violently. Emergency lights flickered, and a new alarm tone joined the cacophony. Station structural integrity compromised, announced the AI system. Gravitational stability systems offline in sectors 7 through 13. Emergency power rerouting in progress. Almost immediately, the artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Objects not secured began to float, then crashed down again as gravity surged to nearly twice normal levels before cutting out completely. Gravity's gone haywire, Cadet Rodriguez observed unnecessarily, securing himself to a wall handhold. The specimens must have reached the gravitational control systems, theorized Cadet Lai. If they consume the metallic components. Captain Chen made a quick decision. New plan. These gravity fluctuations will be deadly to multiple species. We need to stabilize this section until evacuation can be completed. She activated her communicator again. Admiral Zorax, Earth contingent. We're experiencing dangerous gravity fluctuations in Sector 9. Permission to attempt stabilization of the backup gravitational systems. The response was immediate and sharp. Negative, Captain. Those systems are highly calibrated. Report to your safe zone immediately. Chen muted her communicator and turned to her cadets. You heard the Admiral's recommendation. Thoughts? The human cadets exchanged glances. They'd trained together for months, and all understood the unspoken question. Jenkins spoke first. The gravity surges will kill some of these species, Captain. Crushed organs, broken exoskeletons. And if we do nothing, Chen prompted. People die, Rodriguez said simply. Chen nodded. Jenkins, Lai, Okafor, you're with me to the auxiliary control room. Rodriguez, take the rest and get these Viridians to Safe Zone 4. Keep your comms open." As Rodriguez led the Viridians and remaining humans toward safety, Chen's team made their way toward the auxiliary control center against a tide of evacuating aliens. The gravity continued to fluctuate unpredictably, creating chaos as some species adapted better than others. They passed a group of massive Crovans struggling to move in the shifting gravity, their dense bodies particularly vulnerable to the changes. Without hesitation, Cadet Jenkins and Okafor moved to assist, demonstrating techniques for locomotion in variable gravity. "Bend your knees when you feel it coming back," Jenkins instructed a young Crovan. "Then push off when it fades. Rhythm is key." The Crovan instructor, Kravnak, watched with what might have been surprise on his alien features as the humans efficiently organized his cadets into a moving chain. "Why are you not proceeding to your safe zone, humans?" he demanded. "We're heading to stabilize the auxiliary gravity systems," Chen informed him. "Can your cadets make it from here?" Kravnak's wide-set eyes narrowed. "That system requires specialized knowledge." "We've studied your technology," Lai replied. "Different from ours, but the principles are universal." After a moment's hesitation, Kravnak nodded. "I will accompany you. Crovan strength may be necessary." With the combat instructor added to their team, they continued through increasingly hazardous corridors. The structural integrity of the station was clearly compromised. Support beams groaned, and in several places, they had to navigate around buckling floor panels. When they finally reached the auxiliary control center, they found the doors sealed by emergency protocols. "Stand back," Kravnak said, positioning his massive frame before the door. But before he could apply his species' legendary strength, Cadet Lai had already removed a panel beside the door and was manipulating the internal circuits. "Wait," she said. "Forcing it might trigger additional lockdowns." Kravnak watched with evident surprise as the human's fingers moved with delicate precision among the alien technology. After 30 seconds of tense work, the door slid open. "How did you?" "Emergency override," Lai explained. "Standard design in most Confederation systems." Inside, the auxiliary control center was already showing signs of the infestation. Small, shimmering creatures resembling metallic slugs were crawling over the control panels, secreting a corrosive substance that was literally dissolving the metal components. "The specimens," Kravnak growled. "Do not touch them. Their secretions are highly toxic to most carbon-based life." Chen surveyed the room quickly. "We need to remove them and stabilize the system." "Ideas." Jenkins was already pulling equipment from his pack. "Their biology is metal-based, right? They're attracted to certain metal compounds." "Correct," Kravnak confirmed. "Particularly copper and titanium alloys." "Then we create a more attractive target," Jenkins said, assembling what looked like a small electronic device. "This is an electromagnetic pulse generator, non-lethal crowd control tech from Earth. If I modify it to emit on a specific frequency." While Jenkins worked, Chen and Okafor used tools from their emergency kits to carefully remove specimens from the most critical systems without touching them directly. Lai examined the gravity control system, assessing the damage. "The main control array is compromised," she reported. "But I think I can bypass it and route through the tertiary systems." "Those are for emergency use only," Kravnak objected. "I'd say this qualifies," Chen replied dryly. Jenkins finished his modification. "Ready. This should create an electromagnetic field that will draw them to it like slugs to metal." "Activated," Chen ordered. The device emitted a low hum, and almost immediately, the metallic creatures began to move toward it, abandoning the control panels. Within minutes, they had clustered around Jenkins' device. "Now what?" Kravnak asked. "They will consume that device shortly." "Now we contain them," Chen said, producing an insulated specimen box from her pack. "Then stabilize the gravity." Working together, they managed to secure the creatures in the containment unit. Meanwhile, Lai had reconfigured the control systems, her fingers flying over the alien interface with surprising familiarity. "Stabilization sequence initiating," she announced. Gravitational normalization in 3, 2, 1. The sickening fluctuations cease, replaced by a steady, normal gravity field. Kravnak stared at the humans with an expression that, despite his alien features, clearly conveyed astonishment. You prepared for this. You carried equipment for situations like this. We prepare for everything, Chen said simply. It's how we survived on Earth. A standard Earth field kit, Jenkins explained, showing the compact but comprehensive emergency package each human carried. Medical supplies, tools, emergency rations, water purification, basic repair equipment. You carry this always. The Krovan seemed genuinely puzzled. Always, Chen confirmed. Deathworld habit. Before Kravnak could respond, Admiral Zorax's voice came over the station-wide communication system. Attention all personnel. Gravitational systems have been stabilized in sectors 7 through 13. Containment teams are making progress against the biological threat. Evacuation procedures are suspended. Return to safe zones and await further instructions. Chen activated her communicator. Admiral, Earth contingent reporting. We've secured several specimens and stabilized the auxiliary gravity control center. A long pause followed before Zorax replied, his tone a mixture of disbelief and something else, perhaps respect. Acknowledged, Captain. Hold position. Security teams are en route. In the aftermath of the crisis, Helios Station's senior staff convened an emergency meeting. The damage assessment was concerning but not catastrophic. Several sections required repairs, but the station's structural integrity remained sound. More significant was the reassessment of the human cadets' role within the academy. Admiral Zorax addressed the assembled staff, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with intensity. Today's events have revealed several critical weaknesses in our emergency protocols, weaknesses that would have resulted in significant casualties if not for the intervention of the Earth contingent. Murmurs rippled through the gathered officials. Professor Lixel spoke up. Their response was unexpected. They disregarded direct orders. They prioritized life-saving measures over procedural compliance, Zorax corrected. A distinction worth noting. But they're just cadets, protested another instructor. They had no authority to. They had the capability, interrupted Kravnak, surprising everyone. The combat instructor was not known for defending any cadets, let alone newcomers, and they acted with purpose, not recklessness. Tactical instructor Celeris brought up a holographic display. I've analyzed their response patterns. The humans didn't just react to the crisis. They anticipated developments and prepared countermeasures before they were needed. This shows a level of tactical thinking we had not anticipated. Zorax nodded slowly. More than that, they demonstrated what may be their species' most remarkable adaptation. They improvise. Where our protocols failed, they created solutions on the spot. The implications hung in the air. For centuries, the Galactic Confederation had prided itself on meticulous planning, hierarchical order, and specialized evolutionary advantages. The humans represented something different. Generalists with an unsettling ability to function outside established parameters. I propose, Zorax continued, that we integrate human tactical and survival methodologies into our general curriculum. Their approach to unpredictable situations may complement our more specialized training. The proposal passed with minimal opposition, a remarkable shift from the skepticism that had greeted the humans' arrival just days earlier. 3 weeks later, Captain Chen stood at attention before Admiral Zorax in his private office. Through the viewport behind him, the endless expanse of space framed their conversation. Your cadets have made quite an impression, Captain, Zorax said. The incident response was merely the beginning. Their performance in joint exercises has been illuminating. They're adjusting well to the Academy standards, Chen replied diplomatically. That's not what I meant, Zorax said, his patterns shifting to a deep blue. They're exceeding our standards in ways we hadn't considered possible. The question is no longer whether humans can integrate into Confederation forces, but how quickly we can adapt our strategies to incorporate your species' unique approach. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Admiral, if I may speak freely, please do. This is exactly why Earth agreed to join the program, not to prove ourselves, though that was necessary, but to demonstrate that diversity of thought and approach strengthens the Confederation. Humans may have evolved on a so-called death world, but that harsh environment gave us gifts as well as challenges. Zorax's upper arms spread in a gesture of agreement. Indeed, your cadets have shown us that adaptation isn't merely about surviving in hostile conditions, it's about thriving because of them. He paused, then added, the Academy Board has approved an expansion of the Human Exchange Program. We'd like to welcome 50 more Earth cadets next cycle. They'll be ready, Admiral, Chen assured him, and they'll bring their own unique contributions. Of that, Captain, I have no doubt. Zorax turned to gaze out at the stars. It seems we had forgotten an important lesson about evolution and adaptation. Comfort does not breed innovation. Challenge does. Perhaps that is the true gift your death world has given your species. As Captain Chen departed the Admiral's office, she passed a group of alien cadets listening intently to Cadet Jenkins explaining Earth survival techniques. Nearby, Lai was demonstrating improvised repair methods to fascinated Viridian engineers, while Rodriguez led a mixed species team through a tactical exercise. The integration had begun, and with it, the slow transformation of the Galactic Confederation itself. The humans had arrived not as conquerors or as subjects, but as teachers, sharing the hard-won wisdom of a species that had never had the luxury of specialization or complacency. The universe, it seemed, had much to learn from the children of Earth's gravity well, the persistence predators who had turned adaptation itself into their greatest evolutionary advantage.